Welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over Eevee box filled with Eeveelutions, ready to go in our post-rotation format. Now this is a list that Nathan Stratford, great player, friend of the squad, made day 2 with at Atlanta. Their friend took the same exact 60 and tied their winning in for top 16. So I think that Flareon, Eevee, Sylveon box, we're gonna go with Eevee box. I think there's more Eevees than anything else in here. It seems like a pretty good choice right now in the metagame. You have Flareon that can do double damage against a lot of these decks that are playing Teal Mask like Terabox. You have access to a 280 damage attack that could pretty much knock out anything. And of course, we have Sylveon that allows us to shuffle our opponent's Pokemon back into their deck. So if they get out a big Dragapult or any stage 2 Pokemon EX, Sylveon might just be the MVP. With all of the bells and whistles of a regular Terabox, the Noctowl, Fan Rotom, Crispin, all these cards that make these decks work, seems kind of cool. Plus, we also have Briar in here for good measure because we can use Glass Trumpet to accelerate energies to our Pokemon and then make it all work out. Overall, seems like a pretty decent position deck in our metagame. List is available in the description, or you can use your device to scan the QR code. If you need any of these cards, check out our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards for physical cards, at PTCGL store for online code cards, and of course, if you need sleeves or a deck box to host this deck once you get it all together, check out our sponsors at Ultimate Guard. If you haven't already, give this video a like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you think about this deck in the comments. Every single comment helps boost the YouTube algorithm, and since we've already went over the deck list and this is what we got, let's jump into some PTCG live gameplay to see if we can get this deck off the grounds. So we're flipping that coin and our opponent won the coin flip. Like most Tera decks, we pretty much want to go first since we have access to Fan Rotom. We don't necessarily have everything that another deck that's a stage 2 might have. So we don't have access to Arven and all that good stuff. See, if we went first, we would have been able to go ahead and get out our Nest Ball and do all that stuff. But this is fine. We'll just deal with it and see exactly what our opponent's playing here. So as they're getting set up, let's see what they flip over. We're going to be playing against a Gardevoir deck. So we might want to actually use something like Sylveon to shuffle back up their routes as we prepare for this stage 2 Pokemon deck. So maybe we knock out a singular routes and then we go after our opponent's Pokemon. Let's see exactly how we can get our way out of this hand. A lot of the times in these videos, I like to kind of play with the real game that I play. This is actually the first game that I'm kind of rolling with this list on PTCG Live, but I have played Flareon for a while, and it's just like it's hard to choose the text before, because in the Japanese metagame, we'd play Leafeon for like Charizard and stuff like that. It doesn't look like they have a great start though. The fact that they're already going for Fezandipiti, which is telling me if we have a way to knock out the routes, that might be a pretty good tactic. And we might just necessarily have those pieces because we have access to Crispin. Let's see what we can do here. They might just retreat into their Fezandipiti. Guess not. Well, since our opponent's only gone with 1 routes, let's see if there's a way for us actually to score a knockout on it. Either way, I think I'm going to end up playing a Nest Ball here. And as we go through Nest Ball, Fan Rotom seems like the card. Now, we'd have to go like... We'd have to try to get out like a copy of... I don't think we could actually get the knockout because there's nothing that costs 1 energy. Fan Rotom would be great. We don't have the stadium, so our opponent might be safe for now. So let's go ahead and just make sure that we are all good with this. We already have the Noctowl in our hands. We have an Eevee. We have a couple of the Eevees. Let's go like this. Actually, you want to know what? We might be okay. No, you want to know what? I think we're still a little bit short here. We can search out Fan Call and we could really make it happen with like, even if this is in your active spot, you could evolve it, but I don't think it's not a singular energy attack. Probably just want this and a couple Hoothoots. We already have the Noctowls in our hands, so always make sure you have access to those. And we don't have a Tera Pokemon necessarily yet, but I do think it wouldn't be a bad idea to start setting up something like an Eevee EX to start evolving that. So I'm going to go with the Tera Orb here. We do have our Terapagos prize, and I'm just going to go for the Eevee because, again, I don't really want to go for Angelite right off the hop. I think we have access to Flareon that we could power up the Eevee for a future turn. So let's go ahead. We're going to grab this Eevee. So now we at least have a Terra type Pokemon out in play so that we're able to use Noctowl. Now we could always evolve this into Flareon and get there. I also just want to use Crispin. We can go Area 0, Latias to retreat with Noctowl next turn. So I'm just going to power up both energies onto our little Eevee. Or maybe I go big Eevee. It's honestly a little bit tough on how we want to get there. In this case, I'm just going to go for Fire Energy, and what else the other energies? Anything that's not Psychic, I think, when it comes down to this deck. So we'll go Fire, Water. It is possible that our opponent's able to go like Screamtail this following turn. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and use the Eevee EX here. And we'll power up the little Eevee because it could always power up. It could always power itself later on in the game. So this Eevee EX, you might be like, how does this get around the evolution rule? Because Eevee EX, like Flareon EX, evolves from just Eevee. Eevee EX can evolve into... it can basically evolve into any of the evolutions, as long as it's the EX. So Flareon EX evolves from Eevee. So you can't evolve this into like a, let's say if you tech Jolteon, a non-EX, you couldn't do that, but you could make it happen. So having the one Terra Eevee is cool. Sec's actually a little bit more on the expensive side when it comes down to it. That's one thing that holds a lot of people back. Like Prismatic Evolutions was kind of a really sought after set from collectors, so that's made it a little bit tough for some. But that's okay. We're doing okay here. I have the Flareon pieces in real life because I was like, you want to know what? This deck could be kind of cool. But they might not necessarily be available at everyone's single, like, local card game or local game store, LGS. Now, with them going for Buddy-Buddy, this is going to be a little bit interesting for us because we have to get the Noctowl out of the active spot, and we're going to be under item lock for what seems like going to be the majority of this game. So having the Hoothoot there in the active spot is a little annoying because we just can't search. We like this, our plan of Area 0 plus Latias is just not going to happen. So I think what we're going to have to do is go for another Crispin play. So let's go, at this point, let's just evolve the active since we're not able to get out Latias this turn. And we have the Terra Pokemon, so we're kind of chilling with that. We could use Kieran in this matchup, so we don't necessarily use another Crispin. That could be kind of cool. And when it comes to searching out another Pokemon, I think we're gonna have to go for an Ultra Ball. If we didn't have another Noctowl in our hand, we'd be probably grabbing an Ultra Ball anyways. And if we had an energy, I'd retreat, knock out routes. But right now, I think we just have to low-key knock out the routes, or knock out our opponent's active, and then just get set up for things. So we're going to use Kieran for the switch effect. Switch. Whoop. And we can use our Rainbow DNA to evolve into Flareon EX. And let's power up our Eevee with Burning Charge. So we're going to do a lot of damage to that Buddy. And when it comes to the Sylveon attack, because that's why I really want to power it up, we're going to go for Psychic. And then I'm going to go for Water when it comes down to it. I want to keep the Lightning for Carnelian. So let's just go like this. And we should be generally pretty safe if our opponent gets out. Like right now, they only have the one routes. So I'd love to shovel back those Gardevoirs if they get to that point. Got our Terapagos, so that could be a great middle of the late game attacker. Maybe not so much this matchup, but we're doing okay. And they might just get out another routes here. They're probably going to use Buddy to try to like slow us down a little bit at the beginning of the game. There's a Drifloon, so we'll see if they're able to actually get the knockout here. This is where this deck differs from Terra Box. We're not necessarily able to go Wellspring. I guess you technically could add Wellspring, but we don't play Sparkling Crystal. We play Unfair Stamp like Dragapult to try to ruin our opponent's hand in the mid to late game. A lot of decks are susceptible to Disruption, so Disruption plus Attack sounds pretty cool. There's their other routes. They're going to start getting set up here. Really would like next turn to find our Eevee to evolve, our Sylveon to evolve. So let's try to get that with our Noctowl before we draw too many more prize cards. That might be pretty helpful here. There's their Kirlia, awesome. They're getting set up. And we could just use Burning Charge. Like, we have a lot of HP. Our stage 2, or our stage 1 Pokemon's going to take 2 prize cards. Seems pretty useful. Really just want to get Sylveon out if I can to evolve these. Now, one thing, since this deck does play Latias, this Pokemon does not gain the free retreats. So it is something to consider when it comes down to it, because Latias is only for your basic Pokemon. There's a Noctowl, so we're going to go ahead and evolve one. Do I want to go after their Kirlia? Maybe. I could go after Kirlia. But at the same time, I low-key want to go grabbing an Area 0 here, just to bump their Artisan and then just go for Iono. They might have all the pieces, but I need to draw into other cards. As much as knocking out the Kirlia is fine, they could always go Rare Candy, set up after that. So let's go Area 0, bump this. I can start putting other cards in play that might be helpful, like Fezandipiti. I'd love to play this Nest Ball if I could. I don't really care about having another Tera Pokemon in play right now, because I think our Flareon's going to be fine. Don't want to play down Noctowl, so let's go for Iono and hope that we could just get out a Sylveon here. That's all I'm asking for. And we did get Sylveon. I'm going to put the Tatsugiri down so we could use Attract Customers. That sounds like a pretty good strat. And since we're going to have extra energies in our hand, I'd rather keep our energies as is, so I can decide if I want to attack with Carnelian. I can attack if I want to go with Angelite. So I'm just going to get the knockout with Burning Charge, and next turn I should generally be okay. If our opponent doesn't take a knockout, I'm going to sit here for the rest of the game. The one card I'm missing here is I believe it's a Lightning Energy. Just don't want it. It's basically a non-Fire Energy. It's tough with these with these different evolutions to find the right energies. So we have our Flareon, it's powered up our board, and then we have Sylveon to help us maybe go Boss's Orders, shuffle our opponent's Pokemon in. Tatsugiri can get us a Boss's Orders maybe, and we bring up something and shuffle all of their hard work away. Might not necessarily be the perfect game, but so far it's working out okay enough. Our opponents had a slow setup, and a lot of these decks are these stage 2 Pokemon decks that are basic, evolve like Dragapult and Gardevoir. They're slower decks, so really just trying our best here to build around it. And as they're getting set up, they can attach their Psychic Energy to the Fezandipiti from Gardevoir's ability. So I think it only works on Psychic Pokemon. So I don't know if Fezandipiti was necessarily the best Pokemon to send up. They might just be trying to retreat it to get more Pokemon in their discard pile, and they're planning a big attacking turn. But they could find themselves in a tough spot here. Unfair Stamp plus Carnelian could be kind of cool. Oh, Explorer's Guidance. That's a nice card to add into this deck. I like it. And let's see exactly what they're going to grab. I mean, they've lost refinement, so they're just trying to find more ways. We've seen players like Henry Chow and Josh Frink add Enzork into their deck. We've seen like Gardevoir really has to reinvent itself in our new formats. So they got some cards, didn't really probably get the Psychic Energies they wanted to discard there, and I'm okay seeing cards like Screamtail hit the ground. There's their Gardevoir. So there's their Gardevoir, there's their Clefairy. I'm not too worried about Clefairy. Maybe they're able to get a knockout on our active, but we might be able to get a response knockout as well, depending on how things go here. We still have Fezandipiti in play, which is great for us in case our opponent has any late game disruption, which doesn't seem like they do. They went for an Explorer's Guidance, but they could still play Unfair Stamp, even though Secret Box is a little bit more standard here. And let's just see what they do. I mean, if they just get set up and right now they're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 240. So they need one more Pokemon in play to do 260. That Monkey Dory might prove problematic. But let's say if they just like lift us back up, I could take the turn off, use Sylveon, Angelite, shuffling back Gardevoir and Routes, and then they'd have to start off at like square one again. Now, when it comes to energies, our opponent has just 2 Psychic Energies, so they'd have to attach both of them to Clefairy in order to get out of the act, and then find an energy to get out of the active. And I'm not sure if they necessarily have that right now. They can't use Monkey Dory this turn, so there is a chance that we are able to just hard retreat the Flareon. Probably not. It looks like they're going to retreat, load up the Clefairy with a couple energies here. And with, okay, they got the Counter Catcher. Not sure if I like the play on the Fezandipiti there. At this point, I think I might actually just go for the Sylveon play, shuffling themselves back up, and then they're just at a full moon Rondo, being able to attack. So they're only able to do 260 there. Now it's going to go down to 240, and I can make it go down to 200. So let's go ahead, send up Tatsugiri. Iono might be helpful here, but I think the card that I'm going to be searching for is... There's nothing that I want for my discard pile. So when it comes to like cards that we've kind of adjusted our deck or anything like that, we probably don't want to put down anything else. I think I'm just going to go for Attract Customers and see what we can get here. Okay, there's Crispin. Honestly, not my favorite supporter when it comes down to it. I'm just going to put an energy onto this active Pokemon. I could see ourselves like finding an energy to get back for the purposes of Lillie's Clefairy late game, because we can do that as well. Is there anything else that I want to put back? Go Kieran or Crispin? Not really the cards I want. So based off everything that our opponent's doing, let's just go for Iono. We need to try to get things in, like out of our board and ready to get set up. And we do have access for the Unfair Stamp Sylveon turn. We can even go Counter Catcher on their Fezandipiti, which could be kind of hot. At that point, I think what I want to do is put down Hoothoot. I don't want to go too crazy with the bench Pokemon, but like, it is what it is. Like, I think I need to do this play since our opponent did take the knockouts. So let's go ahead and go Noctowl here. And let's go Counter Catcher. Would have been great if we were behind on prize cards. I think Unfair Stamp sounds cool. And do I care about Glass Trumpet? Not really. If you have any Tera Pokemon, two of your bench Pokemon. So a lot of the times we want to evolve before doing that. We've already attached for our turn. Do I want to use Super Rod? We're going to have 2 energies there. I'm probably going to grab Super Rod this turn. I think that's a reasonable turn to do it. And since I'm about to retreat, like, you might want to be like, oh, retreat after the Unfair Stamp. In this case, I'm going to retreat first, send up the Sylveon, and we're going to go ahead and Super Rod because I want that energy back that I just shuffled back in. And of course, I can get back my Fezandipiti because that could be very helpful. And let's go Unfair Stamp. Our opponent's going to go down to 2. We're going to go to 5. And we're just going to go ahead here and go Angelite. So Angelite really hurting our opponent here. We're going to choose 2 of their bench Pokemon to shuffle back. I'm shuffling the Routes back because I think the Routes can evolve into a Gardevoir. And this is where like you could start taking down a deck. Whether or not this game ends up working out perfectly or not, it doesn't matter. This is just how we're able to show how this deck works. We attack with Flareon, we attack with Sylveon, and then you have a bunch of different attackers that you might find in different situations. If our opponent just goes Full Moon Rondo, I'm going to go Switch and try to get a knockout with Flareon. where I could retreat and get the knockout with Flareon, and then they're in a little bit of a rough spot. I could also just attack with Magical Charm here, because they do have the 4 damage counters on their active from when they use Gardevoir's Psychic Embrace. But you can see that, like, stage 2 Pokemon deck, they are just wiped out. The Pokemon that they had previously, like, if they go Badoo and try to build up another turn and just retreat into it, they could find themselves in a really, like, awkward spot. The Monkey Dory could be kind of cool here to start moving things around. I think they could get the knockout on the active, but that's when I'm just going to go for Carnelian, knock out our opponent's active, and have boss switch for the next turn. So they're able to do 20, 40, 60, 80. 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost enough for a knockout. Not a full amount. So let's go ahead. They have no more routes down. So next turn, it doesn't seem like there's too much that they can do. Since we shuffled our energies back and we're kind of like low-key, like getting punished for it, I'm just going to retreat here. Basically, I'm going to retreat and take off the energies that don't pertain as much to Magical Charm. Retreat, send up send up the Flareon, and we're going to be able to get back our lightning energy. So now we're able to use Carnelian on Flareon EX and actually score a knockout here. Now we have boss switch for next turn to make things happen. I think Buddy Poffin's pretty wasteful at this point. I don't care about another Eevee. Like, I have enough for the rest of the game, but just in case our opponent plays Iono, I want to always like thin some cards out here. When it comes to playing things in general, I might just want to get a Crispin back. So let's go ahead and go Crispin and Kieran, because I don't really care about Iono. And we do have boss for next turn. Like, they could go Full Moon, Rondo, like whatever. I think I'm okay with going Carnelian, because at this point I'm taking out their attacker, and they should not have an attacker next turn that allows them to win the game as far as I'm concerned. So I think we're in a pretty good spot. The Latias there, I didn't realize Latias was prize. I mean, I was really looking at the key evolutions. Seems like it's working pretty decent when it comes down to it. We could actually bench Latias and switch and be able to use Carnelian, or set up a burning charge for next turn, because we can't attack next turn, so we do have to get out of the active to reset that. So as our opponent prepares for Arven, unless they go for Unfair Stamp, I'm pretty sure we can go bench Latias, switch into Latias, retreat back. That does reset. This Pokemon can't attack because technically it's a different Pokemon, and then we'll be able to win the game on our opponents no matter what they do. Because they can't build themselves up without Gardevoir, and that's why attacks like Angelite, while they haven't been utilized well in the past, this slower format does find some unique cases against these stage 2 Pokemon EX decks that actually end up working. Oh, they went with a Brilliant Blender build. Interesting. See how it goes. I don't think our opponent knows that we have to win right now. You can tell they're just like kind of chugging along, figuring out exactly what to do. If anything, the counter catcher does not help them here. It actually makes their situation worse, because if I didn't have switch, it's better for them to bring up like Noctowl here. Maybe Sylveon is better, but it's not particularly great. Sylveon, they might be able to get a knockout on. Tatsugiri could literally give me the boss for game. So I think out of all the different Pokemon, this is one that I would not recommend to bring up the most, because we just want to use it for attract customers, which is kind of cool. I think it's definitely a solid Pokemon, but not one to bring up with a counter catcher, because I could just drop a Latias. It would have been better to drop a Noctowl, because if I didn't have Latias, then I'd have to play a switch. This case, you can see the Unfair Stamp Angelite turn really ruined our opponent. Let's go ahead, switch here into our Flareon. We're going to play the boss's orders onto their Fezandipiti, and then we're going to use Carnelian. So good game to our opponents. Setup was a little bit slow on their side, a little bit on our side as well, but we were able to get there overall, and Angelite had to be the MVP. Well, that's what we have going on for this deck today. It's one of those things where you either love this deck or you hate this deck, but we can't deny that it has a place in the metagame within the top 10 to 20 decks range. I don't think it's necessarily number one, but it could sneak into the top 10 decks as early as this week. You'll have to find out, as myself and a bunch of the other TSS members are preparing for the regionals in Monterrey, Mexico. If you haven't already, give this video a like, share, subscribe, and of course, if you need any of the cards, check out our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards, PTCGL Store, and of course, for accessories at Ultimate Guard. I have some upcoming availabilities for coaching, master classes, all that great stuff, so check in the description for the link to my Metafy page. Maybe you can see the recordings of some of my past classes and master one of the decks, including this Flareon EX that might be featured in a future class. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes.
Tabi no hajimari wa tsune ni michi e no ippo de aru. Sore wa yami e to tsuzuku. 初めの一歩を踏み出すには勇気がいる。そして旅の終わりには旅を始めた時の自分とは別人になっているかもしれない。旅に出よう。物語の次の章がお主を待っている。将軍の道を歩め。侍の箱とともに。アルティメットガードが送る冒険の第一章。刀将軍の道近日発売。
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.